Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Remember Suikoden 3. We just had a little bit of misadventure, or adventure, with the St. Loa Knights, Melville, Elliot, and Alanis. And so we've finished that off. We will say goodbye to our new friends, and we will move on to sort of the larger plot once again. Oh, they call him Mr. Duck. His name's Sergeant Joe. He wants to be known as Sergeant, dang it. I mean, it's nice where it's, these characters, I said before, I don't know how much I really care about them. I care enough that I'm sort of vaguely interested in their story, but it's like, there are, It's so weird. It's like there are these very micro stories, and then there's the really large political stuff. So this is just a story about, like, she's really sad to leave her friends. Whereas, like, we are going to learn a whole lot more about the situation in the grasslands, particularly in Geddoe's next chapter. But this is this nice thing where, don't worry, the St. Loa Knights are immortal. Where each of us goes, the strength of the other goes too. Nice sentiments. So, at least you get some of that. I never want to imply that this game is somehow removed from some of the more traditional JRPG trappings of, like, friendship and this and this. Like, the game embraces them wholeheartedly, but also sort of acknowledges that those things are imperfect ideas that don't necessarily hold up in the face of more complex realities. So they're great ideals to have, but they're not necessarily ideals that you can rely upon. They're merely these things that help you get through your hardships, but they are not the things that, they don't define how the world functions, right? In Skies of Arcadia, hope is almost like this force that actually, that actually almost manifests itself in every action that we partake in, and actually has, like, appreciable effects upon the world. Here, that's not so much the case. Here, everything is a little bit more bogged down, and it's simply that ideas and companionship can get you through these difficulties, whereas the broader notion of heroism is sort of wiped down, and things are kept a little murkier for the sake of showing us a narrative that has a certain degree of refinement and self-reflection. So we will stay at the inn and get going. I'm pretty sure this is how we progress the story. And I'm also pretty sure that it straight up does not let me not save, which is weird. So there we go. Okay. Not quite what I was expecting. It's a little bit of a waste of money. I need to stay at the inn, and then the story can progress. There's a little child in my way. Get out of my way, little child. Oh, hey. Nice to see you again. No problem, just seeing myself out. And I swear you have to do something in the inn. Oh, please don't be one of those moments. Don't be one of those things where I just don't know what the hell is going on. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Which would be a bummer. Wait a minute. I had to go into the inn, presumably talk to the innkeeper, and then leave? Huh. That's really weird. Could I have just gone straight to the council building? I don't know. Suikoden 3, folks. Every now and then, really, really obtuse. That is bizarre. I don't usually talk about the construction of things, but I mean, like, when you get down to it, it's all a series of yes or no's, right? Sure, it's more complicated than that, but it's, you know, there's something there that said, like, have you completed this story trigger with the kids? If yes, then when you head into the inn, talk to the innkeeper. Did you talk to the innkeeper? Yes. If yes and yes, then, right? It's all of those sorts of things. And sometimes figuring out which of those variables need to be triggered in games, and in this game can be complicated. You know, if this and this then, or if this but this then. The easiest way to understand that is to parse things in your head as a dialogue tree, right? You understand dialogue trees as, like, you know, once you've said something to somebody in Mass Effect, you can get them to repeat the general information, but, like, maybe it opens up a new thing. So it's like, did you talk to Ashley? It talked to Ashley about this. Yes, then, blah, blah, blah. And so now this is just getting to some of the politics again, finally. This guy. This fucking guy. These people on the council with their snooty mustaches and their weird, or is that the guy? Maybe it's not the guy I'm thinking of, but there's one guy who's on the council who has a really weird mustache. So right, there's just, they're giving them the bureaucratic run through, which is total horseshit. It's like, no, you can talk to the representative, and it's like, what are you doing? We came here, you know. And Sergeant Joe says, like there is some other politics stuff going on. It's like the Grasslands Protection allowed Zexon to peddle its goods back in the day, and it's, you know, we shared our profits with the Grasslands. It's like there are all of these different things that compound upon each other. This is not the guy with the mustache. I wish it was the guy with the mustache. Guy with the mustache is funny and seems a whole lot more like the scheming bureaucrat type. But we're supposed to give the message to this guy, and it's just, you know what, screw it. We'll give you the message, jerk. But the question then becomes, it's like, so Hugo goes and delivers this message, and I don't remember how it's framed within this telling of the story, which is, you know, the game is the telling of the story, but, you know, I keep on referring to the manga, but it's always something that's going to be in the back of my mind, but it's, you know, we know that the council is hawkish. In the context of the manga, they sort of exacerbate things almost even more intentionally than they do here in the game. You know, it's very, very strange. You know, and it's another contrast thing. So in the segment with Alanis and Melville and Elliot, I was talking about how children don't have the same stupid politics as adults, and that's something that we know pretty clearly in this space because we just witnessed it, right? If it wasn't clear before, it is pretty clear now. And it's this thing where, okay, Melville and whoever else, like, we can go on an adventure with them, but the minute that we want to actually engage in what is a diplomatic gesture to ensure peace between a nation and the nearby tribes, independent tribes of the grasslands, like the council, because they're all about playing their politics games, don't treat things seriously. And it's another thing in this chain of miscommunications or semi-intentional sabotage that just absolutely dooms these people to be manipulated into war. I think they just told me to go back to the inn. Crazy. Although actually there is the reason I was expecting to have to do something at the inn is because of this scene coming up. Get out of my way. Jeez. Silly Ironhead. Because we need to go to the inn and rest, and then we will go on our travels. Can I get behind these things here? Okay, let me get out of here. Okay, that was an adventure of its own. Great. Alright, so we head in. Nighttime. Very cool. I don't think it happens quite the same way as it... Maybe it does happen the same way as it does in the opening. But in the opening there's this thing where Hugo bursts out of a building holding onto Fubar, and I think this is where that comes from. And they're sort of talking about their inherent biases. Right, and Hugo's saying, like, there are some decent Zexans out there, right? And it's this thing. It's another thing where it's like, okay, so he has that moment with everybody early on so that there's a softness, right? So that he has the ability to say, oh, there are probably some decent folk out there. And that relationship that's being built or has been partially built through his interactions with Melville and the others immediately gets crushed and sabotaged the moment that Chris draws her blade and cuts Lulu down. So we just look at things in hindsight over and over, and we see moments, just moments where connections could be made. And then you see the moments where those connections are absolutely going to be blown up. There are knights coming to get us. And that's not good. And it's Leo and Percival. So this is another thing. This is another thing that just aids and abets the problems of the communications, right? So it's it's two children and a duck. First off, a sentence again that I never thought I would have to say. Be careful. Something's going on. Like, they want to get us, and basically, like, we don't realize yet that there has been some type of fight, some sort of miscommunication, which I think is the thing that's causing them to come after us. Right? They have orders to detain us. They just want to ask a few questions, right? Because something is amiss. And what they could have done, what they should have done, is not been like, hey, we are going to detain them and send a contingent of guards. They could have just sent a messenger and been like, hey, something's happened and we need to talk. Something has happened. But because relationships are so strained, this is just another thing in that series of continual miscommunications and poor actions that leads to confirmation bias on the part of each group. What are Hugo and everybody else to expect when soldiers are coming for them? But yet, what are Percival and Leo to expect when there seems to be some form of trickery happening with regards to the negotiations in the grasslands? It's this thing that self-perpetuates itself. That was another weird bit of redundancy, but it perpetuates itself, and then it sort of spins around for a while. It churns, and then it's just going to grow into a bunch of pain once the Karya incident takes place. Right, so yeah, I think Fubar comes to save us. Do I remember correctly? But it's like, what's going on here? There are soldiers coming, and it's just like, again, what the hell are we to expect if we're in Hugo's position? Like, and then, you know, maybe this is contextualized later on if we play as Chris, and we understand that things are sort of changing in ways that aren't expected, but it's like, when we're first just playing as these characters, it's like, okay, guards are coming after us, and there's like, it's like, what the living hell? What the heck is going on? Which is probably the least articulate I've ever been in discussing a situation, but it really is this thing where, like, hell, now we have to fight to get our way out of the city, and that's really screwed up. And it shouldn't have to happen, and it didn't have to happen, and that's probably the worst thing out of any of it, is that it just doesn't have to happen, and all the plotting of our villain, who we will eventually meet, really could have been undone with some proper communication, right? But everybody's so incensed to anger really easily. You know, Chris shows up at the negotiations. The Lizard Clan has just... their clan leader has been killed. And what they should have done is been like, hey, you killed our clan leader. And people could have rightly been like, we have no idea what you are talking about. But that's, again, not what happens. Kindness Rain. It's a nice name for a healing spell. So we have to hold out until the next turn. Lulu's gonna get knocked out again. Yeah, oh wow, actually dodging a lot. Good for you, Lulu. Ice magic. Well, really water. It attacks using the power of ice and frame rate. But it's gonna hit Lulu. But it's like, sort of have to. Sadly, even within the context of these fights, Lulu is sort of expendable, which sucks. Because you don't want to have characters feel like that, but it's like, it's strange. Lulu's general fragility stresses that he is somebody that we are ostensibly supposed to be protecting, right? He's coming along with us, and we said to his mother, it's like, no, we'll look after him. He can come with us. It's fine. And it just doesn't work out. It doesn't work out within the context of the battle system. It doesn't work out within the context of the narrative. And those things overlapping, I sort of questioned in the last segment if Lulu is somebody who is attacked more often than other characters. And I'm starting to get the sense that either that is the case, or, you know, he's just really fragile. And that is also something that is the case, just in general. So it's like, even from a gameplay perspective, that ludic perspective, we have somebody who is in our charge, and they are really hard to protect, right? And it's like, here's the thing, it's like, we need to know what's going on, but nobody wants to tell each other what the fuck is happening. It's one of the most it's frustrating to watch, a little bit. It's like, you know, like, now at least Leo's telling them what's going on, but it's still like, you know, while pretending to have peace negotiations, Grasslanders launched a sneak attack against us. How do we know you're not here to further trick us? Well, we're not. Something is going on, but nobody, you know. And then here's the thing, they're like, hey, we're the Karya clan son. And they're like, well, we'll keep you hostage. Right, we're gonna put you in a hostage exchange. And there's, right, like, that sort of makes sense from the Zexin perspective of, like, they have a bunch of our soldiers. Well, we'll take the chief's son, and deal with that. But it's just like, it should, like, oh man, it's just this big string of problems. And honestly, the biggest problem is going to be dealing with these what? So wait, do I have, okay, I'm gonna find this out for myself. Fight. I have a wind rune, but I don't have any attacks with it. So technically Lulu's magic is meant to support Hugo, but there's no actual way for him to support Hugo, which is slightly odd, to say the least. Lulu's gonna get rocked. Lulu's gonna get rocked. Look at that. Lulu just got absolutely destroyed. I feel like this is going to be a tough battle. Hugo almost always dodges that stuff, which is very, very nice. Alright. The downside is I really don't have a great degree of control over who I am attacking, so it's like Sergeant Joe might straight up just attack Percival or someone, yup. Which isn't really what I wanted. Lunchbox. Honestly, if I can just somehow pseudo-tank with Hugo by giving him a lot of health, and then have, okay, well, apparently Sergeant Joe didn't really do what I had hoped he would do. Percival just sort of healed to himself. Oh, wow, the battle actually ends. So it's a survival thing. I forgot about all that. Sergeant Joe's badass, though. So, oh, alright, so this is when Fubar comes in. Yeah. You know what's really nice? Owning a griffin. Fubar. Kara! Nice. Very cool. So we need to make our way back home. So Hugo sort of knows that there's something going on, right? But again, it's just like, what is the full context? Nobody's really explaining things to each other. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And actually, I didn't even get to control myself on the map there. It just sort of sent me there. Strange, because the game usually allows you the proper interactions on the map. But it's this thing like I don't know. First off, I just said I like 9 times. These initial chapters stress the different viewpoints, and it has a lot of effects. Helps contextualize the different spaces, helps stress the differences between peoples, but it also gives us all of the chances to really just see like how messed up the situation is. Just this notion of, you know, us as omniscient player seeing all these different viewpoints, sitting back and understanding that things are not what they are, and seeing all the moments where things could have changed, and yet the fallibility of everybody within the game space is very, very believable, right? You can imagine that people are easily incensed to anger, and don't listen to each other because, hey, that's sort of how it goes in the real world. So the plot doesn't strain credulity by any means. It just, we get to view things with a certain degree of dramatic irony that, can I run away? Yeah, let go. We released the enemy. What the game okay, so I lost it because I was attacked by giant beetles. So the story doesn't strain credulity, but at the same time, the multiple points of view allow us to engage in a very strong example of dramatic irony, which is a device not necessarily used always in games the same way that it's used, for example, in theater, right? You go into Romeo and Juliet knowing that they are going to die. You go into Oedipus knowing that he has killed his father and slept with his mother. Like, these are things you know. Those plays are written based upon the assumption that you know those things. Oh, I thought it was just release. It was actually Runaway. In this game, after seeing so many different perspectives, we get to say, like, okay, this is what's happened, and then we can see it from a different perspective, and we have the context, the broader context, and we can then sort of engage in reads of what's happening that are really taking advantage of our knowledge of the situation. We are actually going to end right here because we're getting close to that 30-minute mark. We're going to end a little earlier because the last episode went a bit longer. We are getting near the end of the chapter where the emotions hit hard. And then, seriously, if you like what this series is and you want me to continue, please comment. Let me know. You're awesome. I like doing this, but, you know, obviously I have a small audience, and I love every one of you. I want to give you all high fives and, like, Skittles, because Skittles are good. You know, taste the rainbow or whatever. But at the same time, it's also just that, ooh, a horse. He is right in front of me. It's also that playing through an RPG is a long thing. So if you are enjoying this game, if you are enjoying what I'm saying, if I'm not annoying you to hell and beyond, let me know. Leave a comment. I love hearing from people. You are all the best, and you are all super smart, and I'm so lucky to have people watching my videos who care about these things, who care about games. So thank you very much for watching. We will get to the end of Hugo's chapter very, very soon. I love you all very, very much. Bye.